Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure in introducing the 10 Little Indians. We worked 2 months on the whole play, April and May of last year, 1983. I don't know if this thing is on yet. But I had a real good time. I enjoyed very much playing with all the characters. I just hope that you enjoy the show. I hope you enjoyed as much as we did making it all up for you. The butler was played by Rogers. He was the butler, played by Steve Nasif. Steve was a good boy. He's going to go places. Mrs. Rogers was played by Sue Travers. She's a nurse, very nice girl, good girl to know. And then let's see, who else did we have? Just a minute here. I'll get my paper. I'll come right back. Yes, here we got it right here. Fred Marquort was played by Almer. Art is an energetic gentleman. You may see him in the natural when it comes to, when it's released. He's had several parts in it, done very well. Good boy. Vera Claythorne, played by Alice Marquort, a very fun-loving young girl. Philip Lombard, played by Sam Miano Jr., a very serious, talented, and determined young star. Anthony Marston, played by Dave Miano. What can be said about David? A wizard. William Bloor, played by Ken Franklin. And Kenny is a very good man to have in a play. Very clear and loud. We had a problem doing that, but he had no problem with that. General McKenzie. General McKenzie, he was played by Chuck Miano. And Chuck says here, Chuck is a superstar. You see, he played guitar long time ago in all of the bars all around Buffalo. And he had a lot of experience on the stage. Just a super guy. Emily Brent was played by Emily Richardson, and she worked hard, and you would never know that she was had a speech impediment. Does a very, very good job. Sir Lawrence Wargrave, played by yours truly. That's me. I have no comment. Dr. Armstrong was played by Dick Fiala. Dick makes it look real easy. He was just superb with that part. That takes care of all of the characters. And now, we just hope you will enjoy the show.
Hi-ho, ladies! First boat full arriving in Jim's boat, another lot not far behind.
Good evening, Fred.
Good evening, Mrs. Rogers.
Is that the boat?
That's the boat. Yes.
You're all ready. Have you remembered everything?
I think so. Let's see. There's lemons, slip soles, cream, eggs, tomatoes, and butter. Right?
That's right. Oh, there's so much to do, I don't know where to start. All these guests arriving today and don't help till the morning.
Now, stop your grousing, Ethel. Everything's shipshape now. Looks nice, doesn't it, Fred? Looks good to me. Little bare, but then rich folks like things bare, it seems.
Well, rich folks is queer.
Queer? The fella that built this place, he was really queer. Spent a wicked lot of money in it, then gets tired of it, puts the whole kit and caboodle up for sale.
Well, it beats me why the owners wanted to buy it, living on an island.
Stop it, Ethel. Take all that stuff out to the kitchen. They'll be here in a minute now. Oh, there's Jim's boat now. I'll be getting along.
I'll need at least 5 loaves of bread and 8 pints of milk in the morning, remember?
Right. Oh, there's 2 passengers for riding by car. Oh, okay. And I'm going to need some oil for the engine, otherwise I'll have the lights running down. It was held up on the railway. It's at the station now. I'll bring it over the first thing tomorrow morning. Right. And give me a hand with the luggage. Right.
Tom, I forgot to give you the guest list.
Thanks, Olga. Yeah, it doesn't look like a very classy lot to me. Miss Claythorne, probably the secretary.
I don't hold much with secretaries. Worse than hospital nurses, giving themselves airs and graces and looking down on the servants.
Oh, stop your nagging. Cut along to that lovely up-to-date kitchen of yours.
Too many new fangled gadgets for my liking.
So this is it.
How perfectly lovely.
Oh, Miss Claythorne.
You're Roger.
Yes, good evening, miss.
Good evening, Roger. Will you bring up my luggage and have to love ball?
Yes, very good, miss.
Have you been here before?
No, but I've heard a lot about the place.
From Mr. and Mrs. Owen?
No, old Johnny Brewer, pal and I built this house. It's a sad and poignant story.
A love story.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Saddest of all, Johnny was a wealthy old boy. Fell in love with the famous Lily Logan. Married her, bought the island, built this place for her.
Sounds most romantic.
Oh, poor Johnny. He thought by completely cutting her off from the rest of the world, without even a telephone as a means of communication, he could hold her.
But of course, the fair Lily tired of her ivory tower and escaped.
Uh-huh. Johnny went back to Wall Street, made a few more millions, and the place was sold.
And here we are. I really ought to find Mrs. Owen. The others will be up in a minute.
It'd be rude to leave me here by myself.
Would it? I wonder where she is.
Well, she'll be along when she's ready. While we're waiting, do you think I could have a drink? I'm very dry.
Of course you could.
Certainly warm after that steep climb. What's yours?
Oh, not for me, thank you. Not on duty.
Good secretary is never on duty.
But really, this is exciting.
What's that?
All this, the smell of the sea, the gulls, the beach, and this lovely house. I am going to enjoy myself.
I think you are. I think we both are. Here's to you, Miss Claythorne. You're very lovely.
Where is Mrs. Owen?
Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Owens won't be down from London until tomorrow, miss, so I thought you knew.
Tomorrow, but...
Yes, I have a list of guests expected, miss, if you'd like to have it. The second boatload is just arriving.
Thank you. How awful. I say, you will be sweet and help me, won't you?
Oh, I won't leave your side.
Thank you. Does seem rather strange to have broke only up in the first boat and all the rest in the second.
Well, that I'm afraid was by design, not accident.
Design? What do you mean?
Well, I suggested to the boatman that there was no need to wait for any more passengers. That and 5 shillings soon got the engine going.
You shouldn't have done that.
They're not a very exciting lot, are they?
Well, I thought the young man was rather nice looking.
Callow. Definitely callow and very, very young.
And I suppose you think a man in his 30s is more attractive.
I don't think, my darling. I know.
Hey, the place you've got here.
I'm Mrs. Owen's secretary. Mrs. Owen had to be detained in London and won't be down until tomorrow.
Oh, too bad.
May I I introduce Captain Lombard, Mr.
Marston, Anthony Marston.
How do you do? Have a drink.
Oh, yes, thank you.
What would you like? Whiskey, gin, sherry, perhaps?
Whiskey, I think.
How do you do? It's a wonderful place you have here.
I'm Mrs. Owen's secretary. Mrs. Owen has been detained in London, I'm afraid, and won't be down until tomorrow.
See you when.
How are you?
How do you do? My name's Lombard.
Davis is the name.
Have a drink, Mr. Davis.
Thank you.
Mr. Davis, Mr. Marston.
Mr. Martin, it's been pleased to meet you. Thank you, Mr. Lombard. I don't mind if I do. It's a bit of a stiff climb up here. But what a view and what a height. It reminds me a bit of South Africa, this place.
Does it? What part?
Nagel, Durban, you know.
Really?
Well, here's the Temperance. Are you familiar with South Africa?
Me, no.
Well, it's my natal place, my home.
Interesting country, I should think.
Yes, it's the finest country in the world. Gold, silver, diamonds, oranges, everything a man could want. Talk about a land flowing with beer and skittles.
How do you do?
General Mackenzie. I'm Mrs. Owen's secretary. Mrs. Owen has been detained in London, I'm afraid, and won't be down until tomorrow. May I introduce Captain Lombard, Mr. Marston.
Davis is the name.
Whiskey and soda, sir.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Your coat, General.
You in the service?
Formerly in the King's African Rifles. Too tame for me in peacetime, I chucked them.
Pretty. Very well.
Where is Mrs. Owen? Well, I'm Mrs. Owen's secretary. Mrs. Owen has been detained in London, I'm afraid, and I won't be down
until tomorrow.
Indeed, extraordinary. Did she miss the train? I expect so, but won't you have something? And may I introduce Captain Lombard, General Mackenzie, Mr. Marston. I believe you all met on the boat, and Mr.
Davis is the name.
Do let me make you a drink, a martini, glass of sherry, perhaps.
I never touched alcohol.
Miss Brent,
And I
you've never touched alcohol?
I suppose you realize you left us all standing there on the wharf. I'm afraid, Miss Brent, I was to blame for that. I just wanted to. And I find it most extraordinary that Mrs. Owen is not here to greet her guests. Perhaps she's just the kind of person who can't help missing trains.
I reckon that's what she is.
She isn't like that at all.
Perhaps it was her husband's fault.
She hasn't got a husband. I want to go to my room. Of course, I'll take you there.
Oh, Mrs. Rogers is upstairs, and she'll show you to your room.
I'm afraid our host and hostess haven't arrived yet, sir. My name's Lombard.
Word based name?
Have a drink, sir.
Yes, please. Whiskey?
How are you? Davis is the name. It's a wonderful place you have here. Quite unique.
As you say, quite unique. Thank you.
Your drink, sir?
Yes, thank you.
Did old Badger Berkeley roll up yet?
Who did you say?
Badger Berkeley. He wrote me into the show. When's he coming?
I don't think he is. Nobody by the name of Berkeley.
The dirty old double-crosser. He's let me down again. Oh, well, it's a wizard. I don't know. Rather a wizard girl, that secretary. She had liven things up a bit.
Quite.
I say, old man, what about dressing for dinner if there's time?
Let's go and explore.
Oh, wizard.
Things are a bit sixes and sevens without the Owenses having arrived.
Tricky, what? I say, wizard place for a holiday.
Yes, really.
going to sit down?
Well, to tell you the truth, sir, you seem to be in my chair.
I didn't realize you were one of the family.
No, nothing like that. Actually, I've never been here before. But to tell you the truth, you see, I live at the betting club. I have for the last 10 years. And my chair is just about there. I can't get used to sitting anywhere else.
Becomes a bit of a habit.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Yeah, not as good as at the club, but it's a nice chair. To tell you the truth, I was a bit surprised when I got this invitation. You know, I haven't had anything of the kind in well over 4 years. Very nice of them, I thought.
May I have your keys, sir?
By the way, is Lady Constance Cummington expected here today, do you know?
Lady Constance Cummington?
Yes.
Oh, I don't believe so, sir, unless she's coming down with Mr. and Mrs. Ellens.
Oh?
May I have your keys, sir?
Yes, no, thank you. I'll unpack myself.
Very good. Dinner is at 8 o'clock. Shall I show you to your rooms?
Please.
This way, please. To the left.
Watch that step, sir. We don't want any accidents here. There's your bag. I'll ring for Rogers. He'll take you and your bag up to your room. Huh. Free room and board and too tight to tip. Well, thank you, sir. That just brought some more life onto you.
How are you? Davis is the name.
Mine's Armstrong.
Dr. Armstrong, I believe.
Yes?
Thought so. Never forget a face.
Oh, don't tell me I've forgotten one of my patients.
No, I just saw you once in court giving expert evidence.
Oh, really? Are you interested in the law?
No, I'm from South Africa, and naturally the legal processes of this country are of interest to us colonials.
Oh, yes, of course.
Would you care for a drink?
No, thanks. I never touch it.
Do you mind if I have some? Mine's almost empty.
Not a bit.
I've been having a look around the island. It's a wonderful place.
Yes, it's wonderful. I thought as I was coming across the mainland, what a haven of peace this was.
It's too peaceful for some, I dare say.
Oh, it's wonderfully restful. Wonderful for the nerves. I'm a nerve doctor, you know.
Yes, I know that. Did you take the train down from London?
No, I motored down. Got in to see a patient on the way. Great improvement. Wonderful response.
That's the better part of 200 miles. How long did it take you?
Oh, I didn't hurry. I never hurry. Bad for the nerves. Some mannerless young fellow nearly drove me into a ditch near Amesbury. Shot past me at about 80 miles an hour. Disgraceful bit of driving. I wished I'd had his number.
Oh, if only more people would take down the numbers of those young road hogs.
Oh, yes. Well, listen, you must excuse me. I must have a word with Mr. Owen.
Oh, but Mr. Owens is...
Oh, you rang, sir?
Yes, Rogers. Would you take my hat, please?
Yes, sir.
What time is supper?
Dinner is at 8 o'clock, sir, in a quarter of an hour. Tonight's dressing should be optional.
It's a nice place you have here.
Thank you, sir.
Been here long?
Just under a week, sir.
Oh, is that all?
Yes, sir.
Do you know anything about the crowd that's here?
No, sir.
All friends of the family?
Oh, I really couldn't say, sir.
Oh, well. Oh, Rogers.
Yes, sir.
Could you put some sandwiches to beer in my room tonight? I get a hell of an appetite from the sea air.
I'll see what I can do, sir.
And I'll see that you don't lose by it. Where is my room?
I'll show you to it, sir.
Very good. I couldn't stand to wiping the brush up straight away.
There you are, Roger. You know, you could give me a hand cleaning up some of these dirty glasses. You're always leaving the dirty work to me. Here I am with a 4-course dinner on my hands and no one to help me. You couldn't at least help me with the dishing up. Who was that you were talking to anyway?
Davis, South African gentleman. No class if you ask me. And no money either.
Well, I don't like him. I don't like any of them much. More like that bunch we had at the boarding house, I'd say.
Davis gives out looking some sort of millionaire. You should see his underwear. Cheap as they make them.
Well, I can tell you this much. It's not treating us right. All these guests coming today and no help till the morning. What do they think we are?
Well, anyway, the money's good.
Well, the money ought to be good. Catch me going into service again if the money wasn't good.
What is good? So what are you going on about?
Well, I can tell you this much. I'm not staying any place where I can put a pot. I'm a cook. A good cook.
First rate, first rate.
Kitchen's my place, and this cleaning's none of my business. I've got a good mind to put on my hat and coat right now and go right back to Plymouth.
You can't do that, old girl.
Why can't I? Who says I can't? I'd like to know.
Because you're on an island, old girl. I had you forgotten that.
Well, I don't know as I fancy being on an island.
Don't know that I fancy it either. No slipping off to the pub or going to the pictures. Anyway, it's double the wages on account of the difficulties, and there's plenty of beer in the house.
That's all you think about, beer.
No. I have to go out to your kitchen, otherwise your dinner will be spoiled.
Well, it'll be spoiled anyway. Everybody's going to be late, wasted on it. It's a good thing I didn't make a display.
Right.
Good evening, miss. Dinner will be but a minute.
Is everything all right, Roger? Can you manage between the two of you?
Oh, yes, miss. The missus talks a lot, but she gets it done. Excuse me.
What a lovely evening.
Yes, the weather is very settled.
How plainly one can hear the sea.
Pleasant sound
Hardly a breath of wind.
and deliciously warm.
Not like England at all.
I should have thought you'd be a bit uncomfortable in that dress. Oh, no. It's rather tight, isn't it?
I don't think so.
You'll forgive me, my dear, but you're a young girl. You've got your living to earn.
Yes.
A well-bred woman doesn't like her secretary to appear flashy. It looks, you know, as though you were trying to attract the attention of the opposite sex.
And would you say I do attract them?
That's beside the point. The girl trying to attract the attention of men more than likely to do her job more.
Oh, surely that depends upon who she's working for.
Really, Miss Claythorne,
Aren't you being just a little unkind?
young people nowadays behave in the most disgusting fashion.
Disgusting.
Yes. Low-back evening dresses. Lying around on benches, half naked, all this so-called sun-gazing. The familiarity. Using Christian names and drinking cocktails. Now, young people nowadays are doing good, and the young men are decadent. Look at that young Marston. What good is he in that Captain Lombard?
What do you object to in Captain Lombard? I should say he was a man who led a very varied and interesting life.
The man's an adventurer. No young people nowadays are no good at all.
You don't like youth, I see.
What?
I was just remarking that you don't like young people.
And is there any reason why I should, pray?
Oh, no. But it seems to me that you must commit an awful lot.
The world will never improve until we stamp out in modesty.
Oh, it's pathological.
What did you say?
What about the old boy?
I think he looks rather like a tortoise. Wouldn't you think?
Well, all judges look like tortoises. They have that rather venomous way of darting their heads in and out. Sir Justice Wargrave is no exception, I'm afraid.
I hadn't even realized he was a judge.
Oh, yes. He's probably been responsible for sending more innocent people to their deaths than anyone in England. Say, Miss Claythorne, have you and Dr. Armstrong Dr. Armstrong and I were just saying that the old boy is
Yes,
probably...
I heard you, and you too. Mr. Lawrence.
Oh, Miss Bryn, isn't it?
Yes, may I have a private word?
Yes.
Let's go, that's me. It's more private.
Fine. It's a wonderful evening.
Oh, it's an absolutely wizard car. Supercharged Ford Fiala Carlotta. You don't see many of them on the road. I can get over 100 of them.
You drove down from London.
Yeah, 208 miles. I did it in a bit over 4 hours. Too many cars on the road though to keep it up. But 90 going over Salisbury Plain, not too bad.
I think you passed me on the road.
Did I?
You nearly drove me into a ditch.
Oh, sorry.
Well, if I'd had your number, I would have reported you.
But you were fiddling along in the middle of the road.
Footling? Me? Footling?
Would you like a drink?
Good idea. Will you have one, Miss Claythorne?
No, thank you.
Good evening, Mrs. Owen.
Why, Mrs. Owens?
Well, you'd make the most attractive wife for any wealthy businessman.
Do you always flirt so outrageously?
Always.
Well, no.
Say, I wonder what old Miss Bryn is talking to the judge about. She tried to buttonhole him upstairs.
No, funny. She seemed so definite. Your wife of Mr. Owen.
You don't think that there isn't, or that they are...
Married?
Shame we didn't know each other. I could have given you a lift down.
Oh, that would have been grand.
I'd like to show you what I can do across Salisbury Plain. Tell you what, maybe we can drive back together?
But I
mean, it seems so silly. I've got an empty car.
Now look here, Miss Claythorne has already stated she doesn't need a ride, and I don't think there's any need to continue with this type of behavior.
Oh, look, aren't they sweet? They're 10 little China Indians, and there's the old nursery rhyme.
What Indians? What nursery rhyme?
10 little Indian boys went out to dine. One choked his little self, and then there were nothing. 9 little Indian boys sat up very late. One overslept himself, and then
Then there were 8. 8 little Indian boys traveling in Devon. One said he'd stay there, and then there were 7. 7 little...
Ladies and gentlemen, silence, please. You are charged with these indictments that you did respectively and at diverse times commit the following. Edward Armstrong, that you did cause the death of Louisa Mary Cleese. William Henry Blore, that you brought about the death of James Stephen Lender. Emily Caroline Brent, that you were responsible for the death of Beatrice Taylor. Vera Elizabeth Claythorne, that you killed Peter Ogilvy Hamilton. Philip Lombard, that you were guilty of the deaths of 21 men, members of an East African tribe. John Gordon Mackenzie, that you sent your wife's lover, Arthur Richmond, to his death. Anthony James Marston, that you were guilty of the murder of John and Lucy Combs. Thomas Rogers and Ethel Rogers, that you were brought about the death of Jennifer Brady. Lawrence John Wargrave, that you were guilty of the murder of Edward Seaton. Prisoners at the bar, have you anything to say in your defense?
Hold on. What was that?
Put it on the job.
What happened? What happened to her?
Oh, it's nothing much. She's fainted, that's all. She'll be around in a minute. Get some brandy.
Doctor, get the brandy!
Hey, what's going on? What kind of practical joke was that?
Where the devil did that voice come from?
Here we are.
You are charged with these indictments.
Turn it off! Turn it off! It's horrible!
A disgraceful and heartless practical joke.
Do you think it's a joke, do you?
What else could it be?
At the moment, I'm not prepared to give an opinion.
But who the devil turned it on and set it going?
We must inquire into that.
Lovely Miss White, speak to her. Ethel, it's all right. Pull yourself together. It's all right.
Did I faint?
Yes. It's all right, Mrs. Rogers. Just a nasty turn.
It was that voice. It was that awful voice. It was like a
FBI. It just gave me a turn.
Oh, of course it did. Give me a tune, too. Wicked Boys it was. I thought you know what that was. Oh, no.
Who was it put that record on the gramophone? Was that you, Rogers?
I was just obeying orders, sir.
Whose orders?
Mr. Owens.
Let me get this quite clear. Mr. Owens' orders were what exactly?
Well, I was to put the record on the gramophone. I'd find the records in the drawer there. I didn't know what it was, not for a moment. I thought it was a bit of music.
Remarkable story.
It's the truth, sir. Before heaven, it's the truth. I didn't know what it was, not for a moment. It had a name on it. I thought it was just to give you all a bit of music. So,
Is there a title?
The title, yes, sir.
it's entitled Swan Song.
Preposterous! Absolutely preposterous! Sweeping accusations about like this. Something must be done about it. This fellow, Owen, whoever he is.
That's just it. Who is he?
That's exactly what we must look into very carefully. I suggest you get your wife to bed, Rogers, and then come back here.
Yes, sir.
Here, I'll give you a hand.
Will she be all right, Doctor?
Yes, quite all right.
I don't know about you, sir, but I feel I need another drink.
I'll have a drink, too. I agree.
I'll get him.
Thank you.
The whole thing is preposterous. Just what it is, preposterous.
Whiskey for you, Sir Owen?
Yes, please.
I would like a glass of water. Oh, I'll get it for you, and I think I'll have a little whiskey, too.
She'll be all right. I've given her a sedative.
Oh, then you'll have a drink after all this, Doctor.
Oh, no thanks. I never touch it.
Then you'll have one, General.
Now then, Roger.
Yes, sir.
We must get into the bottom of things here. Tell us what you know about Mr. Owens.
Well, he owns this place, sir.
I'm aware of that fact, but I want you to tell me what you yourself know about the man.
Well, I really couldn't say, sir. You see, I never met him.
What do you mean, you never met him?
Oh, well, I was engaged through a letter, through a registry office, the Regina in Plymouth.
Check on that.
You have the letter?
The letter engaging us? I believe so, sir.
Regina? That's a first-rate firm that can be checked on.
Go on with your story, Rogers.
Well, we arrived here, as the letter says, on the 4th. And everything was quite nice. Plenty of food and stuff, just needed dusting there.
What next?
Well, nothing, really. I received a second letter stating that Mr. and Mrs. Owens might be detained. And if so, we was to get along the best we could. It gave instructions about dinner and the gramophone.
That letter.
Yes, here it is,
Thank
sir.
you. Headed Ritz Hotel and typewritten.
Coronation machine number 5. It's quite new. There's no defects. Samson paper. It's a very common make. We can't get much from that, but we could check it for fingerprints. It's been handled too much.
Quite the little detective.
Got some fancy Christian names, hasn't he? Ulick, Norman, Owen. What a mouthful.
I'm obliged to you, Mr. Marston. You've just drawn my attention to a very curious and suggestive point. I think the time has come for all of us to pool all our information. It would be well for everyone to come forward with all the information they have concerning our unknown host. We are all his guests here. And it would be profitable if we could probably explain exactly how this came about.
Agreed.
Well, it's a very peculiar occurrence. I received a letter from a woman who said she had met me 2 or 3 years ago at a certain summer resort. I couldn't read the signature on the letter, but I took the name to be Ogden. I am very certain I've never met or became friendly with anyone with the name of Owen.
You have the letter, Miss Brent?
Yes,
in London. I was offered this post and accepted.
You were never interviewed by your prospective employer?
No. Here's the letter.
Thank you. Indy Island, Sticklehaven, Devon. I have received your name from Miss Grempel's agency. I understand she knows you personally. I shall be glad to pay you the salary you ask and shall expect you to take up your duties on August the 8th. The train is at 12:10 from Paddington, and you will be met at Oak Bridge Station. I enclose £5 for expenses. Yours truly, Una Nancy Owen. Mr. Martin.
Oh, I don't actually know the Owens. Got a wire from a pal of mine back in Berkeley. Told me to roll up here. Surprised me because I thought the old horse had gone to Norway. I haven't kept the wire.
Thank you. Dr. Armstrong?
Well, in the circumstances, I think I may admit that my visit here is a professional one. Mr. Owen wrote me that he was worried about his wife's health, her nerves to be exact. He wanted to get a report without her being alarmed. He therefore suggested that my visit here be regarded as that of an ordinary guest.
You had no previous acquaintance with the family?
No. Just mentioned an old colleague of mine, and a very handsome fee was suggested. And I was due for a holiday anyway.
Oh, thank you. Dear Mrs. Brent, I do hope you remember me. We were together at the Bellhaven Guest House in August some years ago. We seem to have so much in common. I'm starting a guest house of my own on the island off the coast of Devon. I think there's really an opening for a place where there is good, plain English cooking and a nice old-fashioned type of person. None of this nudity and gramophones half the night. I shall be very glad if you can see your way to spending your summer holiday on Indian Island. As my guest, of course, I suggest August the 8th, 12:40 from Paddington to Oak Ridge. Yours sincerely, U.N. Yes, the signature is slightly ambiguous.
I like the nudity touch.
Well, here's my own decoy letter. It's from an old friend of mine, Lady Constance Cummington. She writes in her own vague and incoherent way, and she urges me to join her here. She speaks of her host and hostess in the vaguest of terms.
Look here, I just thought of something.
In a minute.
Yes, but I wanted to say...
We'll take one thing at a time, Captain Lombard.
As you wish.
General Mackenzie?
Well, I got a letter from this fellow Owen. Thought I must have met him sometime at the club. He mentioned some old cronies of mine who were to be here. I hoped I'd excuse the informal invitation, and I haven't kept the letter, I'm afraid.
You, Captain Lombard?
Same sort of thing, a letter mentioning mutual friends. I haven't kept it either.
Just now we have had a somewhat disturbing experience. An apparently disembodied voice spoke to us all by name, uttering definite accusations against us. Amongst those names was that of a William Henry Bloor. But as far as we know, there's no one named Bloor amongst us. However, the name Davis was not mentioned. What have you got to say about that, Mrs. Davis?
Well, I suppose the cat's out of the bag. I might as well admit my name isn't Davis.
You mean you're William Henry Bloor?
That's right.
I should like to add something to that. I've noticed this evening, Mr. Bloor, not only are you here under a fictitious name, but you're a first-class liar. You claim to have come from natal South Africa. Well, I know South Africa and Natal very well. And I'm prepared to swear you've never set foot there in your life.
Gentlemen, you have me all wrong. I'm an ex-CID man.
Oh, a copper.
Well, I've got my credentials and I can prove it. I run a private detective agency in Plymouth. I was put on to this job.
By whom?
Mr. Owens, of course. He sent me a very nice money order to cover expenses. He said I should join this house party posing as a guest. He even sent me a list of all your names. He said I should keep an eye on all of you.
Any reason given?
Said Mrs. Owens had a lot of valuable jewelry. Mrs. Owens, my foot, I'll bet there's no such person.
Your conclusions are, I think, justified. You look Norman Owen. You and Nancy Owen. Each time that is to say you and Owen, or by a slight stretch of fancy, unknown.
Incredible, the whole thing.
Oh, yes. I have no doubt in my mind that we have been invited here by a madman, probably a dangerous homicidal lunatic.
Oh, very curious, very curious.
Whoever it is that has enticed us here, has taken the trouble to find out a great deal about us. A very great deal. And out of his knowledge concerning us, has made some very definite accusations. I wish to say this. Our unknown friend has accused me of the murder of one Edward Seaton. I remember Seaton very well. He came up before me for trial in June of 1930. He was accused of the murder of an elderly woman. He was very ably defended and made a very good impression on the jury in the witness box. Nevertheless, on the evidence, he was definitely guilty. I summed up accordingly, and the jury brought in a verdict of guilty. In passing sentence of death, I fully concurred with the verdict. An appeal was lodged on the grounds of misdirection. The appeal was dismissed, and the man was duly executed. I wish to say this before you all. My conscience is perfectly clear on the matter. I've done my duty, and nothing more. I passed sentence on a rightly convicted murderer.
Did you know this man Seaton at all? Personally, I mean.
Previous to the trial, no.
The old boy's lying. I swear he's lying.
Then it's a madman. Absolute madman. He's got a bee in his pocket. Got a hold of the wrong end of the stick all around. Just really believe this sort of thing unanswered. That's the way we should handle it. However, I feel I have to say no truth whatever in what he said about young Arthur Richmond. Richmond was one of my officers. I sent him on reconnaissance in 1917. And he was killed. Also, like to add, I resent very much the slur on my wife. She's been dead a long time. That best woman in the world. Absolutely Caesar's wife.
I've just been thinking. John and Lucy Combs. Must have been the couple of kids I ran over near Cambridge. Beastly bad luck.
For them or for you?
Well, for me, of course. Well, sort of bad luck for them, too, I guess. Of course, it was pure accident. They ran out of some cottage or other. I had my license suspended for a whole year. Beastly nuisance.
This speeding's all wrong. All wrong. Young men like you are a danger to the community.
Well, I couldn't help it. It was just an accident.
May I say a word, sir?
Go ahead, Roger.
Well, there was mentions of myself, my wife, and Mrs. Jennifer Brady. There isn't a word of truth in it, sir. We were with Miss Brady when she died. She was always in poor health, ever since first we came to her. There was a storm, sir, the night she died. The telephone was out of order. We couldn't get a doctor to it. I went for one on foot, but we didn't make it back in time. We were devoted to her, we was. Sir Ellen will tell you the same. There was never a word said against us, never a word.
Made a nice bit of something of her death, I suppose, didn't you?
And Mrs. Brady left us a legacy in recognition of our faithful, devoted service. So why not, I'd like to know?
What about yourself, Mr. Bloor?
What about me?
Well, your name was on the list, too.
Oh, yes. Lender, you mean. That was the one in a commercial bank robbery.
I remember the name, though it never came before me. Lender was convicted on your evidence. You were the police officer in charge of that case.
I was, my lord.
Lender's got penal servitude for life and died a year later at Dartmoor. A very delicate man.
He was a crook. It was him that the old night watchman out. It was a clear case from the beginning.
You were complimented on your able handling of that case.
Well, I did get my promotion. I was only doing my duty.
Duty. Convenient word, duty. Dr. Armstrong.
I'm at a loss to understand the matter. The name meant nothing to me. What was it? Close? Close. I don't ever recall having a patient by that name, or it being connected with death in any way. The whole thing's a mystery to me. Of course, it might have been one of my operation cases in hospital. Oh, they come too late, so many of these people. And then, when the patient dies, it's always the surgeon's fault.
And then you gave up surgery and took up nerve cases. Some, of course, may have given up drink.
I protest. You've no right to say such things. I never touch alcohol.
My dear fellow, I never meant to suggest that you did. Besides, the only one who has all the facts now is Mr. Unknown Owen.
Miss Claythorne?
I was nursery governess to Peter Hamilton. We were in Cornwall for the summer. He was forbidden to swim outside. One day, while my attention was distracted, he started out. As soon as I realized what happened, I swam after him. I couldn't get there in time.
Was there an inquest?
Yes. I was exonerated by the coroner. His mother didn't lay me on.
Miss Brent?
I have nothing to say.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Well, you reserve your defense.
There's no question of defense. I have always acted according to the dictates of my conscience.
My, aren't we a law-abiding lot? Myself accepted, of course.
We're waiting for your story, Captain Lombard.
I have no story.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry to disappoint all of you. It's just that it's perfectly true. I did leave my men in the bush. It was a matter of self-preservation.
You abandoned your men?
Not exactly the act of a Pukamahi, I'm afraid. After all, self-preservation's a man's first duty. And the natives, they don't feel about dying as Europeans do. They don't mind.
Our inquiry rests here. Now then, Rogers, who else is on this island besides ourselves and you and your wife?
Nobody, sir. Nobody at all.
Are you sure about that?
Quite sure, sir.
Thank you. Don't be, Rogers. I am not yet clear as to the purpose of our unknown host getting us all to assemble here. In my opinion, he is not sane in the accepted sense of the word.
Agree with that completely.
He was a very dangerous man. In my opinion, it would be well if we left this island as soon as possible. I suggest we leave tonight.
It's upon me, sir. There's no boat on the island.
No boat? What's this?
No.
Well, can't you telephone the mainland?
There's no telephone on it.
No boats, no phones.
Fred Marquort comes up every morning. He brings the paper and the post and the bread and stuff and takes all the messages.
being a bit unsporting, aren't you? We ought to figure out this mystery before we go. The whole thing's like a detective story. Positively thrilling.
My time of life, I have no desire for thrills.
The legal life, I'm all for crime. Here's to it.
My God, he's dead.
Dead? Do you mean he just choked and died?
You can call it choking if you like. Marston's death is not what we call a natural one.
Was there something in the whiskey?
Yes. By the smell of it, cyanide. Probably potassium cyanide. It acts almost instantaneously.
I never knew a man could die of a choking fit.
In the middle of life, or is death?
He doesn't die of a mere choking fit. I said that it was an unnatural death.
Oh, look. This one is a little Indian off the mantelpiece, all broken.
On the rocks.
But we would always be able to have a boat set from the mainland.
Oh, no, Miss Brent. They wouldn't do that.
You mean we would be cut off from the mainland?
Absolutely. Well, we condense milk and ribena and tin stuff till the gale blows out. But you needn't worry. The sea's just a bit choppy.
I think the pleasures of living on an island are rather overrated.
I wonder if that boat's coming. It's annoying the way this house is built, slap up against the cliff. You can't see the mainland until you climb to the top. Should we go up there again?
Don't bother, Doctor. A watched pot never boils. Besides, there wasn't a sign of a boat putting out when we were up there just now.
And what can this man Narracott be doing?
They're all like that in Devon. They never hurry.
And what about Rogers? He ought to be about.
Well, if you ask me, he was pretty badly rattled last night.
Yes. Ghastly, wasn't it?
Got the wind up properly, all right. If you ask me, he and his missus did commit the murder.
Fantastic. The whole thing's fantastic.
I say, suppose he hopped it.
Who, Rogers? But there's no way he could. There's no boat on the island. You just said so.
No, I've been thinking. We've only Roger's word on that. Suppose there is a boat and he's nipped off in it first thing.
No. You wouldn't be allowed to leave the island.
Have a good sleep, General.
I dream. Yeah,
wonder?
I dreamed of Leslie. My wife, you know.
Yes, yes. Where's that bloke Marquort?
Ooh, it's Marquort.
The fellow that brought us here yesterday afternoon.
Was it only yesterday?
I know what you mean. Battered gramophone record, suicide. It's more than a man can take. I shan't be sorry to see the back of Indian Island. You've got my word on that.
So you don't understand. How strange.
What's that, General?
I don't like the looks of him.
Well, he did have a pretty bad shock last night with young Marston's suicide.
And
Does look years older.
where is that poor young fellow now?
In the study, I put him there myself.
Dr. Armstrong, do you suppose it was suicide?
What else could it be?
I don't know. But suicide?
You know, I had a funny feeling during the night. This Mr. Unknown Owen, suppose he is on the island. Maybe Rogers doesn't know, and maybe he was told to say so. It's a pretty nasty thought, isn't it?
But would it have been possible for anyone to tamper with Marston's drink without our seeing him?
The drink was just sitting there. Anybody could have put a dollop of cyanide in who wanted to.
But that's just...
Oh, there you are, sir. I'll be looking all over the island for you. Can you go upstairs and take a look at my wife, sir?
Oh, well, yes, of course. Is she feeling under the weather still?
She's, please, come on.
Oh. You won't leave the island without me.
I wish the boat could come. I hate this place.
The sooner we get in touch with the police, the better.
The police?
Yes, you see, Miss Claythorne, the police have to be notified in case of suicide.
Yes, of course.
What's going on here? There's still no sign of any breakfast.
Are you hungry, General? Feeling like breakfast?
Leslie, my dear.
No, I'm not. I'm Miss Claythorne.
Of course. Forgive me. I took you for my wife.
Oh,
I was waiting for her to see.
but I thought your wife was dead. Long ago.
I thought so too. But I was wrong. She's here. On this island.
Good morning.
Morning, Captain Lombard.
Good morning. I seem to have overslept myself a bit. Has the boat arrived yet?
No.
Good late, isn't it?
Yes.
And before breakfast, too bad all this.
Too bad you overslept yourself.
Must have good nerves to sleep that well.
Well, nothing makes me lose my sleep.
Didn't dream of any African natives by any chance, did you?
No. Tell me. Did you dream of any convicts on Dartmoor?
That's not very funny, Captain Lombard.
Well, you started it, you know. I'm hungry. What about breakfast?
The whole domestic staff seems to be on strike.
Could always forage for ourselves.
Oh, look. Isn't this strange?
What's that?
Remember we found one of these little fellows smashed last night.
Yes, that ought to leave 9.
That ought to leave 9. I'm certain there were 10 of them when we arrived.
Yes, that ought to leave 9.
There are only 8.
So there are.
Well, I think it's queer, don't you?
There were probably only 9 to begin with. We assumed there were 10 because of the rhyme. What's the matter, Armstrong?
Mrs. Rogers is dead.
Wow.
Yes?
What?
Died in her sleep. Rogers thought she was still under the influence of the sleeping draught I gave her and came down without disturbing her. He lit the kitchen fire and made up this room, and then as she hadn't appeared, he went back up and was alarmed by the looks of her and came down hunting for me. Been dead about 5 hours, I should say.
What was it, heart?
Well, it's impossible to say. It may have been.
You suppose she might have been poisoned, Doctor?
It's entirely possible.
With the same stuff as young Marston?
No, not cyanide. It must have been one of those narcotics or hypnotics. Well, one of the barbiturates or chloral, something like that.
You gave her some sleeping powders last night, didn't you?
Yes, I gave her a mild dose of luminol.
Didn't give her too much, did you?
Oh, certainly not. Whatever do you mean?
Nothing, no offense, no offense. I just thought perhaps...
The amount I gave her did not have hurt anyone.
Well, then exactly what did happen?
It's impossible to say without an autopsy.
If, for instance, this death had occurred to one of your private patients, what would have been your decision?
Well, without more knowledge of her state of health, she certainly could not give a certificate.
She was a terribly nervous-looking creature. She had a bad heart last night. Perhaps it was heart failure.
Well, her heart certainly failed to beat. But what caused it to fail?
Conscience.
Well, exactly what do you mean by that, Miss Brent?
Well, you all heard last night. She was accused, together with her husband, of having murdered the former employer, an old lady.
And you think that's true, Miss Brent?
Well, you all saw her reaction to the accusation. She faded away from the shock of having her sin brought home to her. She literally died of fright.
Oh, it's a possible theory. But one could not adopt that without more exact knowledge of her state of health. If she'd had a latent heart condition.
Call it, if you prefer, an act of God.
Oh, no, Miss Brent.
You regard it as possible that a sinner should be struck down by the wrath of God? I do not.
In my experience of ill-doing, Providence leaves the work of conviction and chastisement to us mortals. The process is often fraught with difficulties. There are no shortcuts.
Well, let's be practical. What did that woman have to eat or drink last night after she went to bed?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. Not a cup of tea, not a glass of water. I'll bet you had a cup of tea. That sort always does.
No. Rogers assures me she had nothing at all.
That's what he says.
So that's your idea?
Well, why not? You all heard the accusation last night. What if it's true? Miss Brent, for one, thinks it is. Like I said before, Rogers and his missus did do the old lady in. And they're feeling very safe and happy about it.
Happy?
Well, they know they're in no immediate danger. Then last night, some lunatic goes and spills the beans. And it's the woman who goes to pieces. She cracks. And did you see him hanging around her when she was coming to? All husbandly solicitude? Not on your sweet life. You were like a cat on hot bricks. And that's the position. They've done a murder and got away with it. But it's all going to be rigged up again now. And if the woman will give the show away, she's a living danger to her husband, she is. But him? Oh, he's all right. He'll go on lying till the cows come home. He can't be sure about her. So what does he do? He puts a nice little dollop of something into a nice cup of tea. And when she's done with it, washes up the cup and saucer, puts them away, and then he tells the doctor she ain't had nothing.
Oh, no! That's impossible. A man wouldn't do that. Not to his wife.
You would be amazed, Miss Claythorne, at what some husbands would do.
Pardon me, miss. I'll be getting lunch breakfast now. I'm not much of a hand as a cook, I'm afraid. It's lunch that's really bothering me. Would cold tongue and gelatin be satisfactory? And I think I can manage some fried potatoes, and there's tin cheese and biscuits.
That will be fine, Rogers.
Lunch? We shan't be here for lunch. Where the hell's the boat?
Mr. Bloor!
What?
The boat won't be coming, sir.
What?
Fred Narcott is always here by 8. Is there anything else you require, miss?
No, thank you, Rogers.
And it's not Rogers. His wife is lying dead upstairs. He's cooking breakfast. He's talking about lunch. And now he tells us the boat won't be coming. How the hell does he know that?
Mr. Lord!
What?
Oh, can't you see he's dazed? He's just carrying on automatically like a good servant would. It's pathetic, really.
If you ask me, he's trying to put one over on us.
The really significant thing is the failure of the boat to arrive. That means we're being cut off here deliberately.
That's very little time. Very little time.
What's that, General?
Very little time. We mustn't waste it talking about things that don't matter.
Why do you think Marquort hasn't turned up, Sir Lawrence?
I think the ubiquitous Mr. Owen has given orders.
You mean, told him it's a practical joke or something of that kind?
He wouldn't fall for that, would he?
Why not? Indian Island has a reputation for crazy parties. This is just one more crazy idea, that's all. Marquort knows there's plenty of food and drink on this island. He probably thinks it's all a huge joke.
Well, can't we light a bonfire on top of the island so they'd see it?
That's probably been provided against her. All signals are to be ignored. We're cut off all right.
Can't we do something?
Yes, we can do something. We can catch the funny little man who staged this joke. Mr. Unknown Owen. I'll swear he's on this island somewhere. And the sooner we get our hands on him, the better. Because in my opinion, he's as mad as a hatter and as dangerous as a rattlesnake.
Hardly a very good simile, Captain Lombard. A rattlesnake always gives warning of its approach.
Warning? My God, there's your warning right there. 10 little Indians. There were 10 of us when Marquort left, weren't there? 10 little Indians went out to dine. One choked himself. Marston choked himself, didn't he? 9 little Indian boys sat up very late. One overslept himself. Overslept himself. That suits Mrs. Rogers rather well, doesn't it?
What? Do you mean he wants to kill us all?
I'm afraid he does, Vera.
And each one fits with the rhyme?
No, it's impossible. It's coincidence. It must be coincidence.
Coincidence? There's only 8 little Indian boys here now. I suppose you think that's coincidence, too.
But there's no one else on the island.
What do you think, Lord?
I don't like it.
Oh, this is terrible.
None of us will ever leave this island.
Can't somebody shut up, Grandpa?
You do agree with me, don't you, Sir Lawrence?
Up to a point, yes.
Good. Then the sooner we get going, the better. Come on, Armstrong, Bloor, we'll make short work of it.
Well, I'm for that, but I don't suppose anybody has a revolver. That'd be too much to hope for.
A revolver? Yes, I have a revolver.
You always carry that with you?
Usually. I've been in some tight places, you know.
Well, you haven't been in a tighter place than you are now. If there's a homicidal maniac loose on this island, he'll have a whole arsenal. And he'll use it.
I wouldn't be too sure of that, Lord. Many homicidal maniacs are very quiet, unassuming people.
Delightful fellows.
Well, you'd never guess there was anything wrong with that.
Well, if our Mr. Owens is one of those, Doctor, we'll leave him to you. I suggest we get started. Captain Lombard, you search the house. Armstrong and I'll cover the island.
Right. House ought to be easy. No secret panels, no sliding doors.
Just be sure he doesn't get you before you get him.
Don't worry about me. But you two better be careful. Remember, one got left behind.
Come on, Armstrong. You go first.
Very energetic young man, that Captain Lombard.
Well, don't you think he's right? If there is somebody on the island, they're bound to find him. It's practically bare rock.
This problem takes brains to solve rather than brawn.
Where are you going?
I'm going out and sit in the sun and think. If you don't mind, Miss Claythorne.
I'm going upstairs to take my medicine. I'm glad Captain Lombard has a revolver.
They're all wasting time. Wasting time.
Do you think so?
Yeah. It's much better to just sit quietly and wait.
Wait for what?
For the end, of course. I wish I could find Leslie.
Your wife?
Yeah. I wish you'd known her. Oh, she was so pretty. So gay.
Was she?
Yes. I loved her very much. Of course, I was a lot older than she was. She was only 27. Young Arthur Richmond was 26. He was my ADC. Leslie liked him. They talked of music and plays together, and she teased him and made fun of him. I was pleased. Thought she took a motherly interest in the boy. Fool, wasn't I? No fool like an old fool. It was exactly like a book, the way I found out. When I was out in France, she wrote to both of us. She put the letters in the wrong envelope. So I knew.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's all right, my dear. It was a long time ago. But you see, I loved her very much. I believed in her. I never said anything to him. I just let it gather here inside. A slow, murderous rage. The hypocrite. I liked the boy. I trusted him.
I wonder what the others are doing.
I sent him to his death.
Oh.
Well, it was quite easy. Mistakes were being made all the time. All anyone could say was I lost my nerve a bit, made a blunder, sacrificed one of my best men. Oh, it was quite easy. Leslie never knew. I never told her I found out. Here we went on as usual, but somehow it was never quite real anymore. She died of pneumonia. She had a heart-shaped face, gray eyes, and brown hair that curled.
Don't.
You know, oh, yes, I suppose in a way it was murder. Curious murder. I've always been such a law-abiding man. Didn't feel that way at the time, though. Serves him right. Thought then. But after, well, you know, don't you? You don't seem to understand. I thought you would. I thought you would be glad, too, that the end was coming. We're all going to die, you know.
I don't know.
You're very young. You haven't gotten to that yet. The relief, the blessed relief. Knowing that you've done it, but you haven't got to carry the burden any longer.
John.
Don't talk to me that way. You don't understand. I'm going to sit and wait. Wait for Leslie to come for me. Yes.
Oh,
Well, all's correct. No secret passages, one course.
don't!
I say, you look low. How about a drink to steady your nerves?
A drink! 2 corpses in the house at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you say have a drink! An old man going quite crackers! Have a drink! 10 people accused of murder! That's all right. Just have a drink. Everything's fine, so long as you have a drink.
All right, all right. Stay thirsty.
Oh, you! You're nothing but a waster, an adventurer. You make me tired.
I say, you are Agatha. What's the matter, Miss Sweet?
I'm not your sweet.
Sorry, never thought you were.
Well, you can think again.
Come now, you don't really mean that. You and I have something in common. Rogues and murderers can't fall out.
Rogues and murderers?
All right. You don't like the company of rogues and murderers. You're not thirsty. I'll go finish searching.
What an unpleasant young man. Is something wrong?
I'm worried about the general. He really is ill, I think.
Looking out for the boss, General? His sin has found him out.
Oh, don't!
One must face facts, my dear.
Can any of us afford to throw stones?
Even if his wife was no better than she should be, she must have been a depraved woman. He had no right to take judgment into his own hands.
What about Beatrice Taylor?
Who?
That was the name, wasn't it?
Oh, you are referring to that absurd accusation against myself?
Yes.
Well, I have no objection to discussing the facts of the case. Indeed, I should like you to hear them. It is not a fit subject to discuss before a man. So naturally, last night I refused to say anything. That girl, Beatrice Taylor, was in my service. Oh, she was clean and willing, and had very nice manners. I was quite deceived in her. Then I discovered she was a loose girl with no morals. Disgusting. It was quite some time before I discovered she was what they call decent folk, too. I'm glad to say they did not condone her behavior.
What happened?
Naturally, I refused to keep her under my roof.
Did she drown herself?
Yes,
How old is she?
17.
Only 17.
Quite old enough to know how to behave. I told her what a low, depraved thing she was. So she was completely beyond the pale and that no decent person would have her in their house. I told her that her child was the child of sin and would be branded all of its life, and the father naturally would never dream of marrying her. And that no decent person would ever have her in their house. I told her I felt soiled by ever having had her work for me.
You told a girl of 17 all that.
Yes, I'm glad to say I broke her down utterly.
Poor little devil.
I cannot understand all this indulgence toward immorality.
And then I suppose you turned her out of the house.
Of course.
And she didn't dare go home. What did you feel like when you found that she drowned herself?
Feel like?
Yes. Didn't you blame yourself?
I had done nothing with which to reproach myself.
I believe you really feel like that. That makes it even more horrible.
That girl is quite unbalanced. The heathen are sunk down in the pit that they made, and the net which they hid is their own foot taken. The Lord is known by the judgment he executed, and the wicked is snared in the work of its own hand.
Breakfast is ready, miss.
And the wicked shall be turned into hell, feet white.
Do you know what the gentlemen are, miss? Breakfast is ready.
Sir Lawrence Wargrave is sitting out in the sun. Dr. Armstrong and Mr. Brewer are searching the island. I shouldn't bother about them.
Shall not the owls shake at the sound of the fall, when the wounded cry, and when the slaughter is made in the midst of thee?
Shall we go in?
I am not hungry.
Breakfast is ready, sir.
Then all the princes of the sea shall come down from their thrones, and lay away their robes and put off their broidered garments. They shall clothe themselves with trembling in every moment, and be astonished at thee.
Reading aloud, Miss Brent?
Yes, I read a portion of the Bible every day.
A very fine habit, I'm sure.
What luck did you find?
There's no cover on the island, no caves. There's no place to hide.
Well, that's right. Captain Lombard, any luck?
No. I'll swear there's no one on the island but ourselves. I've been over it from attic to cellar.
Breakfast is getting cold.
Breakfast? Come on, Flora. You've been yelping for breakfast ever since you got up. Let's eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. Or who knows? Perhaps even today.
Captain Lombard, you should be ashamed of such levity.
Breakfast. General, I say, sir, breakfast. Can't have this. Thank God. One got left behind. There's a knife in Mackenzie's back.
He's dead. He's dead.
But he can't be. I mean, who could have done it? There's only us on the island.
Exactly, my dear sir. Don't you realize that this clever and cunning criminal is always one step ahead of us? And that he knows exactly what we're going to do next and plans accordingly. There's only one place on this island where a successful murderer could hide and have a reasonable chance of getting away with it.
One place? Where?
Here, in this room. Owen is one of us.
Sir Lawrence.
Well, Mr. Bloor?
I wanted to talk to you alone. You know what you said earlier about that damn murderer being one of us? Well, I think you're right. And I think I know who it is.
Really?
You know the Lizzie Borden case in America? Old couple killed in the middle of the morning with an axe. The only suspect was their daughter, a respectable middle-aged spinster. Incredible. It was so incredible she was acquitted, but they never came up with another explanation.
Your answer to the problem is Miss Emily Brent.
As mad as I had her, I tell you, religious mad. Oh, she's the one, all right. We better watch her.
I thought your suspicions were in a different form.
We made some coffee. It's in here.
Yes, it's surprising when you think of what a beautiful day it was this morning.
Our friend is so hard and right. Go out.
Yes. Well, there's no sign of a boat, and one couldn't land now anyway.
Miss Brent.
Oh, allow me. I'll take it.
You were right to insist on our going to lunch and drinking some brandy with it. I do feel better.
The court always adjourns for lunch.
All the same, it was a nightmare. It seems as though it can't be true. Isn't there something we can do about it?
Yes, we can hold an informal hearing.
Do you have any ideas who might be innocent or guilty?
Well, I'm sure it isn't any of us. If you ask me whom I suspected, I would say Dr. Armstrong.
Armstrong?
Yes. Don't you see? He's had far and away the best chance to kill Mrs. Rogers. Terribly easy for him as a doctor to give her an overdose of sleeping stuff.
Remember, somebody else gave her the brandy.
Her husband had a very good opportunity of administering that drug.
Rogers, no. He hasn't got the brains to fix this stunt, nor the money. Besides, you can see he's scared stiff.
Who did you think it was? Beatrice Taylor?
No hope of rescue till this guy's down. Ah, is that coffee? Good. I'm taking two coffee now, you see.
Such restraint in the face of danger is nothing short of heroic.
I don't profess to be a weather prophet, but it is very unlikely that a boat can reach us. Even if it knew of our plight under 24 hours. Look at the wind routes. The sea will still go down.
You're terribly wet.
Is anybody a swimmer here? Could anybody swim to the mainland?
It's over a mile, and in this sea you'd be dashed on the rocks and drowned.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Mr. Brent.
After dinner now.
It's awfully That would be a good idea, Roger.
Very sound scheme, Rogers.
By the way, has anyone seen what's happened to the top bathroom curtain?
My word, Rogers, don't tell me you're calling bats on us now, too.
Bathroom curtain?
Oh, yes, sir. Scarlet oil silk. It's missing.
Has anyone seen a scarlet oil silk curtain? No good, I'm afraid, Rogers.
Well, that's all right. So I just thought it was rather odd.
Everything on this island is odd.
Well, I'll get a few knobs of coal and some sticks and get a nice fire going.
Well, he's awfully wet. I wonder if he'd like some coffee, Roger?
What do you know of Armstrong?
Armstrong went up to his room to rest.
I expect someone's batted one by now.
It won't be so easy now that we're all on our guard.
I wouldn't be too confident, Flor. A lot of bogus little Indian boys around here.
Well, despite what Miss Claythorne said just now, Sir Lawrence, you and Dr. Armstrong are above suspicion. I mean, he's a well-known doctor, and you're famous all over England.
That doesn't prove anything. Judges have gone mad before now. So have doctors. And so have policemen.
Here, here. Well, did he want some coffee?
He said he'd rather make himself a nice hot cup of tea. But what about Dr. Armstrong? Do you think you'd ought to bring him up a cup?
I'll take it up if you like.
I'll take it. I'd like to change.
Yes, you ought to. You'll catch cold.
I don't think Dr. Armstrong would like to see you, Captain Lombard. He might be afraid of your revolver.
Oh, yes. That revolver. I'd like to talk to you about that.
Oh, do go and change.
What were you going to say, Flora?
Very simple. I'd just like to know why you brought a revolver on what is supposed to be a social visit.
Oh, you would. I've led a rather adventurous life. Been in a bit of a jam once or twice. Got into the habit of carrying a revolver about me. It's a rather a pleasant feeling to have a gun handy. Don't you agree?
We don't carry them. Now, I'd like the truth about this gun.
What a damn suspicious fellow you are, Flor.
I know a fishy story when I hear one.
If it's about that revolver, I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Oh. I received a letter in the mail inviting me here as the guest of Mr. and Mrs. Owen. Said it would be worth my while. The writer said he'd heard I'd had a reputation for being a good man in a tight spot. There might be some danger, but that I'd be okay if I kept my eyes open.
I'd never fall for that.
Well, I did. I was bored. God, how I was bored back in this tame country. It was an intriguing proposition, you must admit.
Too big to my liking.
That was the whole charm. To rouse my curiosity.
Curiosity killed the cat.
Yes, quite.
Oh, do go and change, please.
I'm going, my sweet, I'm going. With maternal instinct, I think it's called.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
Well, that's a false story. If it's true, why didn't he tell it to us last night?
He may have thought this was exactly the emergency for which he'd been prepared.
Perhaps it is.
No, if he's telling the truth, he's wrong with that man. I wouldn't trust him a yard.
Are you such a good judge of truth?
Well, I think you're wrong there, Lord. I think this was just Mr. Owen's bit of cheese to get him into the trap with the rest of us. He must have known him well enough to rely on his curiosity. We must get out of here. We must before we'll all be dead.
We must not give in to bad nerves, Doctor.
Oh. I'm sorry. It's just a case of physician, heal thyself. But I've been overworked lately, and I've been run down.
Sleeping badly?
Yes, dreaming. Hospitals. Operations. A knife at my throat.
Real nightmares.
Yes. Do you ever dream you're in court, sentencing a man to death?
You by any chance remember a man called Edward Seaton? I can assure you I would not lose any sleep over the death of Edward Seaton. He was a cold-blooded murderer. I could see, however, I could Seaton's boots.
Oh, it's cold in here.
I wonder what's keeping Rogers.
Where the hell is Rogers?
He said he got to get some sticks.
Sticks. Sticks?
my God!
Is there another one gone? Are there only 6?
Well, there are only 5.
Hi.
Rogers?
Not Philip.
Rogers!
Where the hell is Blur off to like a man?
Oh, Philip.
What? Have you seen Rogers? No, should I?
2 more Indians have gone.
2?
I thought you were...
Well, what is it?
It's in the scullery.
Is he...
Dead, all right. With an axe. Somebody must have come up behind him while he was bending over the wood box.
Stop it! Vera! Stop it! This will be all right. Well, what's next, boys? Bees? Are there bees on the island? That's the next verse, isn't it? 6 little Indian boys playing with a hive. A bumblebee stole and then there were 5.
My God, he's right. There are only 5.
There's nothing wrong with any of us. We all look pretty spry. My God. Miss Brent. Miss Brent. Like the dirty shrimp.
Modern bee sting.
While we were sitting, one of us...
One of us.
Which one of us?
5 little Indian boys sitting in a row, watching each other, waiting for the blow. New version, up to date.
I hardly think this is a moment for facetiousness.
Well, I've got to do something to relieve the gloom. They had that electric plant running down. I've got it. We'll play a new game. We'll invent one called Suspicions. It goes like this. A suspects B, B suspects C, and so on. Let's start with you, Blower. It's not hard to tell whom you suspect. It sticks out a mile. I'm your fancy, aren't I, Blower?
I wouldn't say no to that.
You're quite wrong, you know. Abstract justice isn't my line. If I were going to commit murder, there'd have to be something in it for me.
All I can say is you've acted very suspiciously from the start. You've told 2 different stories. You come here with a revolver. And now you say you've lost it.
Well, I have lost it.
That's a likely story.
What do you think I've done with it? I suggested myself you should search me.
You haven't got it on you. You're too clever for that. But you know where it is.
Oh, you mean I've catched it away, ready for the next time?
I shouldn't be surprised.
Use your brains, Blower. If I wanted to, I could have shot the lot of you by now. Bam, 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 bam! Just like that.
No. That's the big idea.
Oh, the crazy touch. Good God, man, I'm sane enough.
The good doctor said there are some lunatics you wouldn't know were lunatics. I'd say that's true enough.
We just can't sit here doing nothing. Surely there's something we could do. We could light a bonfire.
In this weather?
I'm afraid it's a question of time and patience. The weather will clear, then we can do something. Light a bonfire, a heligraph signal.
A question of time. We can't afford time. We shall all be killed.
I think the precautions we have taken should be adequate.
I tell you, we shall all be killed. All at once. And he'll think of something else. He's thinking now.
name, Doctor? Clothes, clays, please? Was it nerves that made you do her in, Doctor?
No. Drink. I used to be a heavy drinker. God help me. I was drunk when I operated. My hand shaking all over the place. I can remember her now. A big, heavy countrified woman. And I killed her.
So I was right. That's how it was.
Sister knew, of course. But she was loyal to me, or to the hospital. I gave up drinking. I gave it up altogether. I went in for a study of nervous diseases.
Very successfully.
Well, 1 or 2 lucky shots. Good results with 1 or 2 important women, and they told their friends. For the past year or 2, I've been so busy I've hardly known which way to turn. I've reached the top of the tree.
Quite. Until Mr. Unknown Owen. And then down will come Doctor and cradle and all.
Will you stop this damnable sneering and joking?
Gentlemen, please, we must not quarrel.
It's all right, thank me. I apologize.
It's just this terrible inactivity that gets on my nerves.
We are adopting certain measures of safety.
Yeah, but we can't just stay here. We'll need food and sleep.
Well, I agree with that.
Against whom, gentlemen?
Against each other. We have adopted the only measures possible. As long as we stay together, all within sight of one another, the repetition of the tragedies that have occurred will be impossible. We have all submitted to a search. Therefore, we know that no one is armed with a weapon, firearm, a knife, nor has anyone any cyanide or any drugs about their person. As I say, as long as we stay together, we shall be safe.
Safe?
One of us is a bogus little Indian boy.
What about something to eat?
If you'd like, I can open up some tin and make some coffee. But see that you four stay here. That's right, isn't it?
Well, not quite, Miss Claythorne. It would be inadvisable for any one of us to eat or drink something you have prepared out of our sight.
You don't like me, do you?
Well, it's not a question of likes or dislikes.
There are very few tricks that would get past you, Sir Lawrence. If you don't mind my saying so, you're my fancy.
This is hardly the moment, Captain Lombard, for any of us to indulge in the luxury of taking offense.
Well, I don't think it's Blore. I may be wrong, but I don't think you've got the imagination for this job. All I can say is that you are the murderer. I take my hat off to you because you're a damn fine actor.
Thank you for nothing.
I don't think it's the doctor. He hasn't got the nerve. On the other hand, Vera, you've got plenty of nerve. However, you strike me as an eminently sane woman. In order for you to commit murder, you'd have to have a very sound motive.
Thank you.
I thought of something.
Splendid. Animal, vegetable, and mineral, doctor.
That man says he's a police officer. We've got no proof of that. And before that, he said he was a South African millionaire. How do we know this police officer isn't just another impersonation? What do we know about him? Nothing.
Oh, he's a policeman, all right. Oh, look at his feet.
That's enough of that, Captain Lombard.
Well, now we know where we are. By the way, Doctor, Miss Clayton suspects you. Oh, yes, she does. Haven't you noticed the way she shoots you dirty looks from time to time? It all works out quite prettily, really. I suspect Sir Lawrence. Blore suspects me. Armstrong suspects Blore. What about yourself, sir?
Quite early in the day, I formed a certain conclusion.
And what conclusion was that?
Would you like to tell us?
At the moment, I cannot indulge any person's name. I'm sorry.
Not advisable in the public interest.
Exactly.
What about the food idea?
No, let's stay here. We're safe here.
I can't say I'm hungry.
I'm not ravenous myself, Blore. You go out and have a guzzle by yourself.
Why don't I go out and bring in a tin of biscuits?
Good idea. Oh, and Blore?
Yes?
An unopened tin, Blore. Just the wind making the curtains rattle.
I wonder what happened to the bathroom curtain, the one Rogers missed.
Can't imagine for the life of me what a homicidal lunatic wants with a scarlet oil silk curtain.
Things seem to have been disappearing. Miss Brent's lost a skein of knitting wool.
Yes. Now we know the murderer is a kleptomaniac, too.
How does it go? 5 little Indian boys.
Going in for law. One got in chancery.
In chancery? But, how can that apply? Unless... Of course.
Precisely, my dear lady. That's why I'm sitting right here.
But I'm casting you for the role of murderer, not victim.
That term can also apply to a boxer.
Seems to let you out, my sweet. Perhaps we'll have a free fight.
Well, that awful rhyme, it just keeps going round and round in my head, and I think I'll remember it till Mr. Blore's a long time.
I expect the big bad wolf has got him by now.
Captain Lombard, I asked you once before to restrain from your peculiar sense of humor.
Sorry, sir. Must be a form of nervousness.
Get your hands up. Search it.
No, thank you.
Come now, girl, you haven't eaten since morning.
I couldn't eat anything.
I warn you, Blore will wolf the line.
Well, you don't have to joke about it. It doesn't do any good to starve ourselves. How are we off on cigarettes?
I haven't got it.
I'm afraid I'm out, too.
Fortunately, I'm a pipe smoker.
Well, I've got a whole box upstairs in my suitcase. I'll get them. I could do with a cigarette myself. But see that you all stay where you are.
Pretty good, these biscuits.
What are they, cheese?
Cheese and celery.
That girl ought to have had some.
Her nerves are in a bad state.
Well, I wouldn't say that, Doctor. Miss Claythorne strikes me as a very cool and resourceful young lady. Quite remarkably so.
So that's your idea? That she's the nigger in the woodpile?
Hardly likely. A woman?
You and I, Doctor, see women at slightly different angles.
Anyone for a spot of whiskey?
Good idea. As long as it's an unopened bottle. Yeah.
Who's there? Philip!
is Dr. Armstrong?
I'm out here looking for matches.
Forget the matches. Bring some more candles.
I was horrified to death. It went right around my throat.
What did it?
The window in my room was open. It blew out the candle when I opened the door. And then a long strand of seaweed touched my throat. I thought in the dark I was being strangled by a wet hand.
No wonder you screamed.
Who hung that seaweed there?
I don't know, but when I find out, he'll be sorry he was ever born.
It's all right, Miss Claythorne. It's only me.
Well, here we are. Who fired that shot?
He's dead. Shot through the head.
One got in Chancery, and then they were...
Vera,
You got me to get out of here. You got me to go upstairs for cigarettes. You put that seaweed there. You did it all so you could kill that helpless old man in the dark. You're mad, old, crazy. That's why you wanted the red curtain and the knitting wool. It was planned long ago for that. Oh my God. Let me get out of here.
three little Indians sitting in a row, thinking as they guzzle, who's next to go?
Oh, Philip.
That's all right, Miss Claythorne. I don't mind joking on a full stomach.
I must say I was hungry, but I don't think I shall ever fancy tin tongue again.
Well, I was needing that meal. I feel like a new man.
Well, we had been nearly 24 hours without food. That does lower the morale.
Somehow in the daylight, everything seems different.
You mustn't forget, there's a dangerous homicidal lunatic loose on this island.
Why is it one doesn't feel jittery about it anymore?
Because now we know. Beyond any possible doubt, eh, Blore?
That's right.
It was the unknown before. Wondering, suspecting whom.
I said all along it was Dr. Armstrong.
Oh, yes, you did, my sweet. Until you went completely bats and started suspecting us all.
It does seem rather silly in the light of day.
Very silly.
Assuming it is Dr. Armstrong, what do you suppose happened to him?
Well, we know what he wants us to think has happened to him.
What exactly did you find?
One shoe. Just one shoe sitting prettily by the cliff's edge. Inference, of course, that Armstrong had gone completely off his onion and committed suicide.
No. That's all very circumstantial, even to the broken China Indian over there in the doorway.
I think that was rather overdoing it. A man wouldn't think of doing that if he was going to drown himself.
Well, we're quite sure he didn't drown himself. But he had to make it look as though he were the seventh victim, all according to his plan.
Supposing he really is dead.
I'm a bit suspicious of death without bodies, Vera.
How extraordinary to think there are 5 dead bodies in there. And here we've been eating tin tongue.
A delightful feminine disregard for facts. There are 6 dead bodies, and they're not all in there.
There are 5.
What about Mrs. Rogers?
I counted her. She's the 5th.
Look here. Marston was first, and then Mrs. Rogers. General Mackenzie, Rogers, Miss Brett, and Wargrave. That's 6.
7, 8, 9, Armstrong 10. Oh, you're right, old man. Sorry.
I wonder if we ought to bring Mrs. Rogers down and toss her in the morgue, too.
I'm a detective, not an undertaker.
Oh, for heaven's sake! Let's stop talking about bodies. The point is, Armstrong murdered them.
Right. And we ought to have realized it straight away.
How do you suppose Armstrong got hold of your revolver?
Haven't the slightest idea.
Where do you think he is?
He's probably lurking about, waiting to get a crack at one of us.
We ought to search the house.
Walk into an ambush?
Oh, and I never thought of that.
Are you sure you heard nothing after we went on?
No, I imagined all sorts of things, but nothing short of setting a house on fire would have got me to unlock my door. But tell me, what exactly happened in the night?
Well, after you threw your fit of hysterics and bolted yourself in your room, we decided we should do the same. So we went up to bed.
And we all went to bed, and we all locked our doors.
Right. About an hour later, I heard something pass by my door. So I went out into the hall. I tapped on Bloor's door. He was there. I went over to Armstrong's door and knocked on his. His room was empty. That's when I went to you here, and I told you to sit tight no matter what happened. I went downstairs, and I noticed the window was open to the balcony. My revolver was lying on the floor beside it.
Why would Armstrong chuck your revolver away?
Either it was an accident or he's crazy.
You said you found the revolver lying down there. How do we know you didn't have it all along?
Same old gramophone record. No room in your head for more than one idea at a time, is there, Warren?
No, but it's a good idea.
Yeah, you're sticking to it.
I could have thought up a better story than that if I'd been in your shoes.
Well, I only wanted something simple that a policeman could understand.
Well, what's wrong with the police?
Nothing. Now that you're off the force.
Look here, Captain Lombard, if you're an honest man as you pretend to be...
I'm now Bloor, neither of us honest.
You're referring to Lander.
Right.
Well, I suppose it doesn't make any difference now. He was innocent. The gang squared it with me, and between us, well, we set him up for quite a stretch. Now, mind you, I wouldn't admit it now, but we're for a very simple fact.
But you think we're all in the same boat?
Well, I couldn't admit it in front of Mr. Justice Wargraves, could I?
Hardly. So you did go in for that little spot of perjury, didn't you?
Well, yes. And it put Lander away, but speaking of innocent people being put away, this fellow Seaton, do you think he was innocent?
I'm sure. Wargrave wanted him out of the way for a good reason. Well, Bloor, I'm glad you decided to come off your virtuous perch. I hope you made a tidy bit of it.
Well, not nearly as well as I should have done, but they're a tough bunch, that Benny gang, and I did get my promotion.
Right. And Lander got penal servitude and died in jail.
How was I to know he was going to die?
That was your bad luck.
If you mean.
Yours too. Because of that unfortunate fact, your life may get cut unexpectedly short.
Oh, we're back to Armstrong. With me? Now, I'll be careful. Getting back to Armstrong and the three of us, and that revolver, which you found, I said I'm willing to search for Armstrong. If I'm willing to do that, will you lend me the revolver?
That's my revolver, and I'm sticking to it. Don't be an ass.
Then you know what I'm beginning to think?
You're not beginning to think it's your square-headed flatty? You thought it last night, now you're back to your original idea. That I'm the one and only UNO, isn't that it?
I wouldn't contradict that.
Well, you can think what you damn well please, but I warn you.
I think you are both behaving like a pair of children.
Sorry, teacher.
Of course, Captain Lombard isn't the unknown. The unknown Owen is Dr. Armstrong, and I'll tell you one very good proof of it.
What's that?
Think of the rhyme. 4 little Indian boys went out to sea. A red herring swallowed one, and then there were 3. Don't you see the subtlety of it? A red herring. That's Armstrong's pretended suicide. But it's only a red herring. So really, he isn't dead.
It's very ingenious.
To my mind, it's absolute proof. It's all mad because he's mad. He takes a queer, childish, crazy pleasure in sticking to the rhyme and making everything happen in that way. Dressing up the judge, killing Rogers when he was chopping sticks, using a hypodermic on his friend when he might just as well have drugged her. He's got to make it all fit in.
And that might be the pointer. But where do we go from here? Very simple. 3 little Indian boys walking in a zoo. A big bear hugged one, and then there were 2. It's going to have a hard time making that fit. There's no zoo on the island. Now, Captain Lombard, how about a bottle of beer?
Oh, Lord, this appetite of yours is going to be your undoing.
There's plenty of beer in the kitchen.
Yes, and if someone wanted to get rid of you, that's the first place they'd think of putting a lethal dose, in a nice cold bottle of beer.
What's that? A boat? A boat!
Lord, wait. Lord! Lord got his.
How?
A booby trap, all set. A wire across the bottom of the door attached to something above.
Is he?
Yes, crushed, head stove in. Big bronze bear. Up on the landing by the clock.
Bear! Yes, forgive this awful childishness.
God, what a fool Blore was.
Now there are 2.
That's right. And we'll have to be very careful of ourselves.
We shan't do it. He'll get it. We'll never get away from the silent.
Yes, we will, Vera. I haven't been beaten yet. Now hold on, we're gonna make it.
Don't you feel there's someone now in this house? Someone watching?
It's just nerves. No, I don't.
Oh, please, Philip. Let's get out of here, anywhere. We've got to get away from this house.
All right. Here's what we'll do. We'll go to the top of the island. We'll wait there for relief. It's a sheer cliff on one side, and we can see if anyone approaches from the house.
Anything's better than staying here.
Won't you be cold in that dress?
I'd be colder if I were dead.
Perhaps you're right.
Oh, look! There's something washed up on the shore.
It looks like a body. You wait in there. I'm going to have a look.
Be careful, Philip, please.
Don't worry about me, my sweet. I'm not Blore.
Armstrong? Armstrong's body?
It's Armstrong. Drowned. Washed up at high water mark.
So there's no one left on the island. No one at all except us 2.
That's right, girl. So now we know where we are.
Now we know where we are.
Old Wargrave always knew you were dangerous. Pretty neat trick he used with that wire.
You.
So you did drown that kid after all.
That's where you're wrong. I didn't kill him. Please, believe me. Please listen to me.
I'm listening. You'd better make it a damn good story.
It isn't a story, it's the truth. I didn't kill that child. Someone else did.
Who?
It was a man. Peter's uncle. I was in love with him.
Go on. This is getting quite interesting.
Don't sneer. It was hell. Absolute hell. Peter was born after his father's death. If he'd been a girl, Hugh would have got everything.
Well-known tale of the wicked uncle.
Yes. He was wicked, and I didn't know. He said he loved me, but that he was too poor to marry. There was a rock far out that Peter was always wanting to swim to. Of course I couldn't let him. It was dangerous. One day, we were on the beach, and I went back to the house for something I'd forgotten. When I got back, I looked out and saw Peter swimming out to the rock. I knew he hadn't a chance. The current had got him already. I rushed down, and Hugh tried to stop me. Don't be a fool, he said. I told the little ass he could do it.
Go on. This is interesting.
I pushed past him. And Hugh tried to stop me, but I got away and rushed down. I plunged into the sea and swam after him. He was gone before I could get to him.
And everything went off well at the inquest. They called you a plucky girl, and you kept discreetly quiet about Hugh's part in the business.
Do you think anyone would have believed me? And besides, I couldn't. I really was.
Well, it's a pretty story, Vera. And then I suppose Hugh let you down.
Do you think I ever wanted to see him again?
You certainly are an accomplished liar, Vera.
Can't you believe the truth when you hear it?
The truth? Who killed Law? I didn't. And Armstrong's dead. I've broken many a commandment nighttime, Vera, and I'm no saint. But there's one thing I won't stand for, and that's murder.
You won't stand for murder. What about those natives that you left to die in Africa?
That's the crazy part of this whole thing. I didn't.
What do you mean?
For once. Just once, mind you. I played the part of the hero. I risked my life to save the lives of my men. I left them all my supplies, ammunition, my rifle. I took a chance through the bush. By the most incredible luck, it came off. But not in time to save my men. Rumor got around that I deliberately abandoned them. Well, that's life for you.
Do you expect me to believe that? Why, you actually admitted the whole thing.
I know. I got such a kick out of the look on their faces.
You can't fool me with a stupid lie like that.
Blast you, Vera!
I should have seen it before. It's there in your face. The face of a killer.
Can't fool me any longer, Vera.
Oh.
Vera, wait, Vera! Hold on!
Now.
Funny little devil!
You come one step closer.
You young, lovely, quite mad! Oh!
My rhyme, my rhyme. Silence in the court. If any more noise, I shall have this court cleared. It's all right, my dear. It's all right. Don't be frightened. This is a court of justice. You shall get justice here. You thought I was a ghost. You thought I was dead. Armstrong thought I was dead, but that was the clever part of my plan. Came out that night to meet me by the cliff. I sent him over so easily with a push. He swallowed my red herring all right. You know, Miss Claythorne, all my life I wanted to take life. Yes, to take life. The only enjoyment I could get is when I sentenced the guilty to death. But that wasn't enough. I wanted more. I wanted to do it with my own hands. But I'm a king of the high court. I have a sense of justice as between the sovereign lord, the king, and the prisoner at the bar. Will true deliverance make guilty, my lord? Yes, guilty. You were all guilty, you know, but the law couldn't touch you. So I had to take the law into my own hands. Silence in the court. Anthony Marston first. Mrs. Rogers, Barbertone and her brandy. Mackenzie stabbed. Got Rogers with an axe while he was chopping sticks. Doped Emily Brent's coffee so she couldn't feel the hypodermic. Booby trap for Bloor. Bloor was a fool. I always knew it would be easy to get Bloor. Returning that revolver was a clever touch. Made the end more interesting. But I knew you two would suspect each other in the end. But the question was who would win out. But I banked on you, my dear. The female of the species. And besides, it's always more exciting to have a girl in the end. Prisoner at the bar, do you have anything to say while sentence is passed on you? Vera Elizabeth Claythorne, I sentence you to death. But they all say that. Must plead not guilty then. Unless, of course, you want to go all out for a plea of insanity. But you're not mad. I'm mad. But you're not.
I swear it. I never killed that child. I never wanted to kill him. You're a judge. You know when someone's innocent and when they're guilty. I swear I'm telling the truth.
So you didn't kill that little boy after all. Very interesting. But that doesn't matter much now, does it? I can't spoil my lovely rhyme. My 10 little Indian boys. You're the last one. One little Indian boy left, all alone. And he went and hanged himself. Now I must have my hanging.
Oh, so...
It's all right, John. It's all right.
Thank God women can't shoot straight.
Oh, I'll never forget this.
Oh, yes, you will. There's another ending to that 10 little Indians. One little Indian boy left all alone. We got him free. And then there were none. Okay. The winner is Amber Lidman, 536 Greenfield Road.
All right. Woo!
Things out there.
See you later.
I'll just set it up on the platform for the...
Well, we set it up against the...
Yeah.
I don't know, I thought it sounded better when he said it. He said it was pretty thick. But it was very thick, I had trouble understanding him.
Mom!
Yeah, every time somebody says mom, I turn
Yeah.
around.
That's okay, Debbie.
Barely.
Mom, I'll be out the hall.
That's the nails on the end there. Okay, what are you doing now? Second one?
Yeah, I'm doing all the same thing.
Where is that?
Huh? No. Why didn't we know?
Where's Shelley now? Now there's one that's there. Just put it up in the middle.
This is the worst part. Hey, you're going through that, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's not two. And the bars have to close at 3, which makes them lose an hour's business. Well, they have to close at 2 because it's 3. Time change.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
No, you don't even tell me.
Got it.
So it's gonna...
Watch your nails.
Got it.
And then it goes back down?
All this stuff there?
How does the class go tonight? The 12 class is from 11 or from 1?
Where's Chuck?
Hey.
Chuck?
1 hour.
Did you clean it up?
Good job. So, Barb, actually, an hour.
So much for Indian Island. As we set sail from Indian Island, the sun sinks slowly in the west. No, from Indian Island, it comes from the east. Strange island. Chuck, is this whole year? Down to the sharp nail. Because there are sharp nails. Watch the examiner because you're covering up the sharp nails with that wallpaper. I'm holding it. You'll be amazed. Okay, come on.
When you guys still here rolling this carpet? Still here rolling this carpet? Yeah. Make sure it's even. You guys take one end. You gotta roll. Take it here. Alright. And we'll keep it there. Or on Monday. No, you gotta move from that end. Wait. I know. No, you gotta make it small. I know.
Hey, everyone!
Do the best you can. Then just move it to the side. There. Now. Uh-oh, we got the
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah, how big is the kid in that?
Brain's not wrong.
That? That's what we're going to do. I tried to get my... This is going over. was going to push you forward.
It was Marquort, one of the things. The props here to be returned. Yeah, we could put it over there.
These two will leave on the side.
Okay.
Do it now.
I think it's a piano stick up here, so it's a clear place. Yeah. You want to pick the what is like? No. Sandy, is this anybody?
I don't know.
Yeah.
And then by Monday, we'll get down here. I'll pick everything up and put it all. Good, I can die to see the inside of that house for years. Okay, here, I'm going to do that.
Okay, let's grab it.
Okay.
Where we're in?
How many rolls have you got? Probably under the sheet and stuff.
I know.
Got one pencil.
Omar the tent maker. Omar the rug maker. Could you make me a rug?
No. You don't?
You got one, right? I don't do this much.
How do you see over at Chuck's whenever
Don't forget to remove the plate.
I gotta make sure this is I can always see it. You don't need it. All right, good.
Dave?
Here, you need some help, all right?
I brought wins and chains and animals. Yeah. I don't think don't get anybody. Yeah, make sure you get all that junk out of there, guys.
I see a bottle. How full is it? Extension cord. Right here. We just see the bottle. Where do we put the bottles?
I'm gonna crack.
This is the worst part.
Why? This is the worst part.
Sandy, we just throw these bottles out. We don't get any Tonawanda.
So we can use them for next time.
Next time. How do you think about next time?
What's some syrup? Well, I'm not finished going across. I'm hungry. I can't remember. Correct. I did so inside. I wasn't from the tap. I wasn't very sick. 7. Oh. All right, better. 1, 2.
Oh, wait a second. I'm bringing my...
Emily, is this your breakfast? Yes, it is. Okay. Come on, take a quarter, Mommy.
Is that all right? Make sure you get the right one.
Yes, it is.
Get in here, but I didn't cut it, so make sure you
I think she's being a word.
Okay.
These are biscuits. No,
It's Natalie.
Ken, you're sure you don't want your lovely rug back?
Absolutely, I think it's wonderful that you should buy it. You want to buy that white cart? Nobody wants to buy the white cart. All right.
I'd love to, but
Come to our garage sale.
you could reel it into the apartment we have to leave.
Let's have a standing ovation for the engineer.
He's been very patient with us.
Randy, where do these go? Backstage?
Over on the,
You gotta find food.
not nice.
I don't know, I think it's adorable.
Debbie. That fireplace.
I don't know. We'll probably wind up throwing it down at the car. Here. I think we better go.
Well, it does, but it doesn't. Because I did a lot of leading on this.
What? Fireplace. Oh, so you have